I've been talking with him about Lisp and stuff, and from the perspective of like, he's like, I like Lisp. I've been playing with it. I'm like, I like Lisp a little bit, and I kind of know Scheme, but you know, so think about it. And then I decided I'm going to teach kids how to program in Racket, and then there's that. So there's all these things going on in the back of my mind. There's the arguments I'm making for teaching kids to program in Scheme, and then there's the fact that I look back and I'm a Vim user. Vim has massive community around it with extensions that do all sorts of things, and it's written in a language that's essentially a very bad version of BASIC. Now artspec, so I actually have to talk, but I was just saying the cognitive dissonance between being a person that likes good programming languages, functional programming styles, and aspect. I'm not actually talking to you. You just want to sit there. You're just going to sit there? Because the presentation hasn't actually started. This is sort of...
You could get a chair if you wanted.
Yeah, I was running through.
Oh, okay. All right, fair enough. Anyway, so I'm a Vim user, and if you've ever looked at Vim scripting language, and if you've ever been exposed to BASIC, the thing you'll say is this looks like BASIC. I would show you right now, but I don't need to share right now. Everything I do involves a text editor. It's almost like a text editor is a really important part of my life. Are we actually recording now, Pete?
We are.
Oh, so cool. We might want to add it to this part. Okay. So, in the beginning, I created the heavens and the earth. Done. In the beginning, I had a computer, and it was given to me, and I was going to install Linux on it. I was really excited. This was something I had actually been wanting to do for, I think, a year. But there wasn't a spare computer in the house, and my dad's computer was a work machine that he needed to do CAD. So I was like, eventually I did that. I made by playing around in the DOS shell, because the only thing I really knew about Linux and Unix at the time is that it was a command line. So I get my Linux installed. I can't get X working, but that's not a problem right now, because this was all about the command line. I've got this. I know what I want to do. So I had a terminal. The terminal didn't look like this. It was black, and it was the whole screen. I don't think that will work with the projector, so just pretend. It's green. It's actually a shade of green.
With a yellow spot.
With a yellow urine stain in the little projector. All right, so then it's even more apparently green now. Actually, I noticed walking around I had horrible posture. Better posture. There we go. All right, so I'm in here. What's the other thing that I knew about Linux? I knew that there was this epic religious war between VI and Emacs. I knew this partially because while I couldn't use Linux, I read everything that I could about it in this year, waiting to get a computer that I could play with it on. This includes like nearly everything that Richard Stallman had written at the time, the writings of Eric Raymond, who I partially disagreed with on some areas. I am being recorded. Anyway, all of this stuff was in my head, and I knew lots of good things about Emacs. I really kind of admired Richard Stallman from a philosophical, moral standpoint. So that was his baby. He wrote the original Emacs on Ticos, from what I understand. I could be wrong about that, but very less Emacs, Richard Stallman. It seemed like a thing that should be. And so I just fired up Emacs in the terminal. And I was greeted with something like this, except I think the message may have been a bit different, because this is far more helpful. So I started this up, and I'm like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. I started doing things. I just got frustrated. I'm not sure what happened. I didn't know how to quit, how to actually exit the editor. I had no GUI. I couldn't just close a window. So I had another terminal open, and I did. Actually, what was it? I knew the command, kill all Emacs. All right. And that was the first time I ever interacted with Emacs. I'm sure that in the multi-worlds that probably exist, in another universe, I ran Emacs. And I actually read through the documentation and figured out how to work it. And then I know that it's Control-X, Control-C, which in and of itself is still painful. So instead, I ran Vim oops. I have to write command vim here because vim is alias to Emacs now for some reasons that we'll get into. So I ran vim, and vim gave me this really simple message, and I started using vim. And I used vim with my own customizations that I copy and pasted from other people, from friends and stuff, and I was very happy. A couple of years ago, no, it's actually a perfect uphill. It all changed when the Fire Nation attacked.
Fire Nation.
Yes, some people in this room will get that reference. I started installing plugins. I have lots and lots of Vim plugins. I think I counted 40, and these plugins make me more productive in many ways. They give me features that aren't available in the editor. They make things work a little bit better. Really, really cool. I also, while a Vim user, I became very, very used to dealing with text inside Vim, like just being able to change stuff inside strings and all that. But I'm not here to talk to you about Vim. I'm here to talk to you about Emacs, because while I like Vim, I have been noticing some problems with the number of extensions I'm running and the fact I'm running Vim in a terminal. Occasionally, I will type a character and it will stay on the screen. Vim will not redraw it. This is pretty annoying. And also, frequently I end up waiting on the editor because it's doing something and it can only do one thing at a time. So, while it's doing something, I have to wait. I had heard, and there's a couple of articles that have been on like Hacker News and stuff lately, actually over the last year, both about Evil, which is an implementation of Vim's key bindings, really complete one for Emacs. And in fact, their stated goal is compatibility with Vim. So if Vim does something some way and Evil does it another way, then probably Evil's going to change. So I thought that was really cool. But yeah, so I ran Emacs. And I also decided that I would run the GUI version of Emacs after reading other people in the Emacs community opinions on the matter. There's lots of people who run Emacs in the terminal, but I was like, I'll just run the one that's in GUI. And that's what that looks like. That's not actually what it looks like when you first started, so let's do that. Uncustomized gives that. Now, right off the bat, there was something I knew that I liked here. The first fact is the fact that it can display images in a text edit. That's really cool. And it also just wants me to replace the lamp. That's actually there. So, okay, so Emacs, I don't know what I'm doing in this, but I learned enough so that I could start doing this. I was like, I'm going to bootstrap myself into this environment. So I was like, okay, Emacs init.el. Alright, so I actually once again started copying and pasting things. No, I cannot use Vim key bindings here. Not yet. Alright, so I've done quite a bit of things, but let's just get myself on a more comfortable feel. Many people that aren't Vim users could actually do with just starting to use Emacs and possibly a few other things to make it like a normal text editor and not be a special thing. Oh, I started with key. I can't do that in this buffer or this instance. No problem. Yes. Alright. So, bootstrapping. This is partially configured Emacs. The first thing I did is remove the help screen because I don't need one. What do I want to start doing in Emacs? I need to edit. I need to get it so it looks like that. Actually, I don't even have to do that because I can just load it. So, pretend I'm editing the file. I first need to look like solarized thing. Alright, that was really easy. It's also using a nice, I think it's using a different font now. It's good. I still can't type J to scroll. Can you see why I would never be able to use a normal text editor again? I just start typing J in everything I get my hands on. Alright, so let's fix a few other problems. I'm not used to this either. You'll see why in a second. Library. Evil. Of course, we have some dependencies because I never intended on editing these separately. intended this to be slightly more. I'm hitting X and it's deleting things. That's actually not the most efficient way of doing that. U, undo things. I think the granularity of undos is a little lower. But anyway, let's see. That was V, that's X. That's not important for you, that's just important for me so that I can actually use this editor. Alright, I'm in business now. What? Awesome, live demos. All right, so now that's much better. Find a recent buffer. Oh yeah, we're not loading the looks thing. I somehow missed that was commented out. So this is my completely configured text editor. I don't need the terminal anymore. I don't actually need anything. All I need is Emacs. Emacs, by the way, is not an operating system. I need to make this perfectly clear. It does, however, have a package manager. And using this package manager, I've installed everything that you see here. Although I have it so that I can bootstrap again if I lose the installed packages, which is kind of nice. So why am I doing this? Well, I really like it. I work on code remotely, and I can bookmark this code remotely, and I can edit it in a shell that runs locally on the machine, but sends commands to the remote far end, which is really good when my ISP is being stupid. So right now, this is eShell, and this is me running a command on a remote machine. This is the code for BMO, bugs.mozilla.org, which is what I do. Some files that shouldn't be in there right now, but nothing too bad, just bugs I'm working on. So another thing is really cool about this is I have some aliases. So anything I run in here is either going to be a shell command or an Emacs command. So I can use any Emacs command I want. And one of those is FF, or itself an alias. Find file. Yeah, find file. And I want to do find file. Other window. You see why I don't want to type that, but I just want to show it. So that's just the normal Emacs command. It's the same one that I type if I type Alt-X. Alright. So I do find file with one of these lovely files here. There was one called check setup, right? Yeah, so I'll do that. And except I'm an idiot. So there we go, I just opened that file. Let's make this bigger. Let's close that other window. So, good syntax highlighting. This file is not local. I can edit it really fast. Vim has something like this. And years ago, an Emacs user told me, Dylan, by the way, this feature is called Tramp. Dylan, I use Emacs because Tramp is really good. I'm like, well, Vim's really good too. It's got NetRW, and NetRW lets you edit remote files, but NetRW and Tramp are completely different. If I go and want to look at a file that's related to this one, I'm not sure how well this will work for Perl because I haven't done it yet. Not quite, but it at least tries. It's like, I know you're going to be in the current directory, and I know your current directory isn't really a real directory, it's another server. And it completes it. So I can go and I can edit this other file. And then I can pop open another shell. And it's going to be in the directory I was just in the editor. The directory, by the way, that's not on this computer, it's on a remote computer. Proof, this laptop has been crashing a lot lately, so this will be the uptime of the server. which has been upgraded 5 days ago. Still fairly good. How would I can also go anywhere else that I have access to. So I'm going to go into the Slug server now. I'm now on the Slug server. Uptime. The Slug server's been up for 7 days because it also had upgrades recently. Nah, this isn't as impressive as it should be. Alright, I really, you know what I want to do now is I need to manually edit the Etsy password file by hand. So, I'm going to do that. Need some quotes though. No, there's not actually passwords in this file because it's a shadow. Yeah. So if I was dumb, I could put my root password in there, and it would actually enter my root password, or not my root password, my sudo password automatically. But I don't want to do that. So it still asks me to unlock that and encrypt the file. All right, so here we are. This is an Etsy password file. It's on this remote computer, and I'm root. Isn't that cool? I can save this if I wanted to. I can really screw up like everything about the system. Like I could change Andrew's name to Andrew, like that. I'm not going to do that though. All right. And just to make sure, revert buffer. All right. Meanwhile, if I want to open a shell, I've opened the shell, and I'm in the Etsy directory as root on Loafin. Yeah, that's right, because I typed Loafin. We were on Show, and we're on Loafin now. Okay, I want to edit some Nginx config files. And I hope that they have syntax highlighting, because I like syntax highlighting. Yes, they have syntax. This has been a pain for me for many years, is the problem of editing files remotely. When you want to edit a file, ideally, you want to use your default editor so you don't end up screwing things up. If you have a very customized version of Vim, like I have, you could do 2 things. You could copy your Vim config over to root so that all that code is now running as root. All that code that you download from GitHub, that 40 or so extensions that are now going to be running as root. Or you can use sudo edit, which will copy the file to somewhere else and let you edit it. So a couple of problems with sudo edit. Sudo edit changes the file name to something in a temp directory, so sometimes syntax highlighting won't even detect it. And anything else that you wanted to do, like in Vim, GF will go to a related file that matches. Like if you have an include in your Nginx config and you type GF, it won't know where to go. And it won't even be able to edit it anyway because you're not editing the original file, you're not running as root, you're using sudo edit. So this is a much better solution. It works locally without the SSH part as well, so you can use Emacs to edit files as root on your own computer too, which is probably a more realistic use case. Let's look for, here's an include. I want to make sure that GF works here. GF should find the file. It does. It even asks you first. So I just went to another file. That's pretty cool. I don't know what the native Emacs is for going to a file. I'm sure that and there's actually a hardcore Emacs user here that'll be able to tell me, but I don't actually care too much. I think it's find file at point. So let's find that out. Emacs is self-documenting, so I'm going to have it describe me a function. Find file at point. And in my case, it's bound to GF. So if you pop up in a normal Emacs that's not using evil, and you do find file at the describe function, find file at point, it'll tell you what it's pointing to. All those underlined things are links to things. Well, no, not the file name. But there are links to other things in here, like FF, EL. So I would also point out that 80% of Emacs or something is written in ELISP, so if you actually learn the language that it's written in, you're at a good chance of being able to change things. If you know Vim script and you want to change something about Vim, I think it's less than a 50% chance that you can, because a lot of stuff's coded in C. So if you know C and then the really horrible language that Vim uses, you can do that. I need to get out of that window. So, was that a question? how many windows have I opened? Open lot. So Emacs is not an operating system or a desktop environment, but it does show you a list of files that you have open. I'm now closing. That's good. Also, Emacs is process list. So that's all processes running on my computer right now. I can, I think if I click on them, something happens. No, but if I type K, I can randomly kill them. Isn't that cool? I shouldn't do that. That's process. So I told you that I'm doing everything in Emacs, and if you're not entirely convinced that I really am going to be doing everything, I've shown you a shell program that's like in its own shell. But if you're particularly attached to your shell, I still like ZSH quite a lot. Emacs comes bundled with Terminal Emulator, and it's pretty good. It doesn't do 256 colors without a plugin. It just looks like that, so that's a little annoying. But on the whole, it's pretty good emulation out of the Terminal Emulator. So I would like to make basically done, but I will make a small list and then have like random questions, and you can ask me things like, "Hey, Dylan, could you actually do this?" And you oh yeah, by the way, I just typed Control X and then didn't do anything. So Michael, this is what happens when you do that. It shows you everything that's currently bound and even other submaps. So like, I think Control X, M is a prefix, as it says there, and then you type M, no. There you go. So that's what that does. And then if it still doesn't help you, you can take that name and then do describe function, and it'll tell you what the name does. You can also get variables to be described as well. One other thing. So there's also, if you don't want to learn eLisp, there's a